going to talk about retention, and I also want to allude to the demise of the lucky seller, which I think we have seen massively over the last few months, and I'm going to bring up some of my experiences as a buyer as well as part of that. So you've given a good overview of me, so I appreciate that. So I'm going to skip that slide. So who are Apprentify? Owen, you were right. We're a group of companies founded in 2018. We're now 120 people strong and growing. 13 million revenue across 4 opcos with offices across the country. So we are growing rapidly, like a lot of companies who have already presented. And to give some context, we're BGF backed. So we're private equity backed, and BGF back the likes of Gusto, Trunky, and other amazing entrepreneur-led businesses. So our mission as a business is to fill skills gaps and offer companies retention solutions through Apprentify Limited, whose hat I'm wearing for this presentation. We are a training business, a coaching business. We're Ofsted outstanding because actually we are a further education company. We're very commercially focused, but we're an FE business. So the vast majority of our revenue is from the government, so therefore we're Ofsted regulated and heavily audited. And we are an outstanding business. So that puts us in the top 1.6% of providers in our world. And everything we do is heavily monitored and audited in terms of quality and success of learners as well. So we drive output, we drive retention, and yes, we receive government funding on your behalf. It's free but isn't. But ultimately, I'm going to go on to the next slide to explain what the apprenticeship levy is and how we're helping companies like you guys train up your people for free ultimately. So what's the apprenticeship levy? I'm sure probably most of you on this webinar don't know what that is. So behind the scenes, any company in England with a salary bill over 3 million PAYE is taxed at 0.5% of that amount. And that amount goes into the apprenticeship levy, this virtual apprenticeship levy pot monthly. So if you can imagine the amount of companies in the country that have a salary bill, many of you on this call will have over 3 million. That's a lot of money in the apprenticeship levy pot. And the vast majority is actually reabsorbed by HMRC after 2 years on a rolling basis. I think the reason why the apprenticeship levy is underused is because of the word apprenticeship. Okay, but ultimately there is this massive pot of money behind the scenes that any company in the country, Facebook, Google, one-man band can access to train their individuals, give industry qualifications, and ultimately train up and retain in finger-on-the-pulse skills. As Apprentify, we deliver 13 curriculums across marketing, data, software, business analysis, but obviously the focus today is within sales. So moving on to that, my view of the sales space, and I've been in it for quite a long time. Started my career in the I think 2005, I started my sales career. But I think the lucky seller has died personally. Okay, so pre-COVID, we saw that 87% of the sale was someone buying off someone. A lot less crowded marketplace, a lot more money around, very buoyant markets in all of the spaces we were in. I think tech was very exit focused, all about multiples rather than net profit. We have the luxury, myself included, and I consider myself a lucky seller in terms of my progression. Simple decision-making processes, small amounts of champions in businesses who can make big decisions and sign off on contracts. I think that was the ecosystem before COVID. And a lot of us did really well without necessarily having the skills, the tactics, the strategies that the likes of Carl, Elaine, Jonathan, and James have sort of talked about already today. Okay, so I think that was the era. Don't take it too much on face value, but I think it was the era of the lucky seller, Blair Britton, etc., through to Boris. We were in a good space. But then COVID hit, obviously. That led us to the Great Resignation. It was coined, obviously, on the back of the US. I think it was 11 months consecutively. Over 4 million people lost their jobs in the US, and it was reflected over here as well. The economy was booming, floodgates were open, big deals everywhere, loads of opportunity in companies who were just going for the multiples and looking for a sale in the tech space. Loads of land grabbing in terms of staff, but also revenue share. Recruiters, Elaine alluded to it, recruiters were absolutely booming, the phone was off the hook. And there was also the dawn of the new benefits package for post-COVID as well. So it was a great time for people to look at something new. Unhappy with communication during COVID, unhappy with furlough, cost of living, increasing. I'm going to get a better job, get paid more, and start again. Okay, so that was the environment we found ourselves in. Recruitment was doing really well, and companies were land grabbing in terms of the best staff. I think then it's fair to say the bubble has burst. So a number of people have alluded to what tough times we're facing right now, and a lot of great businesses are growing, but it's harder. It's much harder, and I think we're all seeing that. So the bubble has burst, and there's a number of geopolitical, economic factors behind that. That for me has led to the great retention, the importance of keeping your best people and actually looking strategically at your sales teams and thinking, right, I'm going to grow my business with the people I've got and not just land grab and get the best out of them. Okay. So we all know the cost of losing one head is on average in the UK 30k. I would argue it's more in sales, given the lost opportunity and the loss of potential of deals in the future as well. It's really important to keep and motivate your good ones. That's really key. The economy is tight, selling is harder, better the devil you know, I think, in terms of the people you have. Okay, there's no such thing as luck as selling now. So you need to keep your existing people, motivate them, and give them the right sales skills and strategy and coaching to make them successful. Decisions now are a lot more FD led. Strategic buying is everything. I've just been through a process which I'll allude to in a second. And it's all about IQ. It's about the cadencing. It's about the medic stuff, which we use in our business. It's about having a strategic view of every sales situation rather than doing what we did when we were lucky sellers. And that was going for drinks. 87% of the sale is someone buying off someone and hoping the deal lands based on personal relationship. I personally have been through two signatory buying processes there with Cognizant and Sixth Sense over the last few days, actually. Got to sign off process. And I was just super impressed with both those businesses' structure behind the process and consistency in how they were qualifying the sales opportunity. Back in the day, that would have been a lot more personality based, a lot more about beers, a lot more about do I get on with that individual. It wasn't about that. It was about business case. It was about trials, very strategic, and it shows what the new world of sales is all about. So poor retention equals you lose market share and you lose horsepower and you're constantly behind the game. So I've picked 5 things that I think lead to people leaving a business, especially in sales. So lack of purpose for one, bad unaccountable managers is a big one now, I think, especially with the hybrid working environment a lot of us are in. Boredom, no feedback or coaching, and no opportunity for professional growth and development. Okay, you'll see actually on here, I don't think pay is the major issue now, whereas it was maybe in the last year or two. It's now about that longevity, support, coaching, and having the right skills to be successful. And the obvious turnaround here and the obvious spin to Apprentify, which I'm sure you're waiting for, a sales apprenticeship might be an option for your junior AEs, your SDRs, anyone joining your business in the commercial team that you've got. Okay, so what a sales apprenticeship is, it's not as you probably imagine, and it says on the tin. The word apprenticeship brings this vision of low skilled, go to college a day a week, decorators, mechanics, and a lot of my family are in that space. I'm not slagging that space off, but apprenticeships aren't what you imagine. Okay, apprenticeships are world-class training programs delivered by the best trainers, which are Ofsted regulated, that give a journey over 12 months with a dedicated coach per individual as well. It just happens, hence why it's called apprenticeship, to be funded by the apprenticeship levy. And that's the economic upside of using apprenticeships. So apprenticeships are available for new or existing staff. About 80% of what we do as a business is for existing sellers at SDR level. Some customer support roles, tech support, junior AE roles. In tech businesses, anyone involved in the sales process can go on a sales apprenticeship. Okay, and to give you an idea, our oldest learner is 52, our youngest learner is 16, but our sweet spot is training people between 19 and 30 years old. They're called apprenticeships because they're predominantly government funded. If you have a salary bill over 3 million right now, you are paying into the levy, and you can pull that out of the levy via us to train people for free. And by the way, if they're under 25, you don't pay national insurance contributions on them either. Okay, if you're a smaller business, the difference is negligible because the government funds 95%. You just have to co-fund 5% of the value of an apprenticeship. And to give you an idea, our highest value apprenticeship in beta is 18,000. Okay, so it gives you kind of idea of the level of training we're giving over a 12-month period, but also the amount of money that's there to access. The last reabsorption by HMRC was 600 million. Okay, that's funding that wasn't used by companies like us. And we're delivering training, coaching, and ultimately a qualification at the end of that process, and that equals competence, which ultimately helps retention. This gives you an idea of our learner journey. Okay, so number one motivator, we think as a business, and we see it within our growing teams, is structured and formal development. Okay, and that's what naturally we offer through an apprenticeship. So we offer a 12-month program that we've developed actually for sales confidence outside of the government standard. So we include Jolt, BANT, Medic. We include all the stuff that we all talk about daily, and we deliver a 12-month process per learner through training days, coaching, on and off the job learning to get them a formal qualification within sales at the end of that process. So coming back to those 5 challenges you have when you're retaining people. So there's a bit of issue with the format, and I'm not sure what I've done here, but how could a sales apprenticeship add value to your business and help your retention? So those 5 challenges that you face, a lack of purpose. Well, a sales apprenticeship is great for that for a seller, because not just they don't just have the target, they're not just learning about the solutions you're selling, they're ultimately working towards a sales qualification and an end game that they will get after 12 months. Okay, so that gives them a purpose outside of just selling and hitting number. Bad unaccountable managers. So apprenticeships naturally loop in managers into the learning process. So each learner has a coach, each learner has a training journey, which is tech focused. But each learner also has review meetings with the trainer, the coach, and also the leader every 6 to 8 weeks. Okay, so that negates this bad accountable manager thing when you're putting someone through a sales apprenticeship. Boredom. No better way, especially with the IQ that's coming through in these generations of sellers. There's no better way than dealing with this challenge than give them training, give them learning, give them something that they're aiming to, new challenges, new skills. I've already mentioned the sort of techniques that we're teaching, and we're giving them techniques for success that loop into the AI stuff that Elaine talked about, some of the cognizant stuff around the IQ and the spear fishing rather than net fishing. We're giving them the skills to do all that kind of stuff. No feedback or coaching is also a major issue. Apprenticeships are built to feedback and to coach. Okay, there's a dedicated skills coach per individual on program through us. So every sales professional that's on a sales apprenticeship through us has a dedicated coach who has sold successfully, who has taken them through that process and can deal with real life issues. And we're not taking them down a route that's just our route, because the leader's looped in. There's a consistent message happening. And the final thing is no opportunity for professional development. Well, naturally, at very little or no cost to you as businesses, you're able to access some of the best training around and some of the best coaches and formal and structured training. So we as a business, we believe genuinely retention can go up 40% when you put someone on a sales apprenticeship. We're giving the right skills, the right motivation, showing the learners you care, but actually giving them the best skills to be successful in this market.